Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and welcome to lecture number 15 for basic engineering mechanics. In this lecture we will continue our discussion for force system resultants, and today we would be talking about how we can simplify a body which has multiple forces and multiple couple moments acting on it and represent them in the form of a single force and a single couple moment. So we can say that this is the most important point and most important topic in this chapter, because everything that we have covered before this chapter in this chapter was basically building up to this point, and everything that we will cover after this topic would just be some special cases about this simplification. So let's go ahead and let me just first give you the basic idea. So what is the basic idea for force system resultants? So we want to reduce all the forces and couple moments applied to a body. So anytime we have a rigid body which has many forces acting on it, we want to reduce all of them or convert all of them and represent them in the form of a single resultant force which is acting at a specific point, and we want to reduce all the couple moments into a single couple moment, and this is what we call creating an equivalent system. So this equivalent system is equivalent in the sense that all the external effects produced by all the original forces would be the same. That does not mean that the internal effects would be the same. What do we mean by external effect? That the rigid body itself, whenever it is moving, its motion and its rotation, all the effects of that sort would be the same for this equivalent system, but the internal effects would be different. So let's discuss an example. So let's assume that we have a force, we have a rigid body which has this shape, and with this body we have a force which is acting at some point. So let's assume we have a force acting at this point, and so given this force, we know that because of this force there would be some strain at this point. So at the point of action of the force there would be some strain at this area because we are applying a force at this point. Whenever we convert this force to an equivalent system, maybe our equivalent system contains a force which is acting at this other point. So now this second force is producing it is producing a strain in this region. This force was producing the strain in this region, so that means that the internal effects would be different. But right now we are not concerned about the internal effects. We want a force system which has the same external effects. By same external effects we mean that the acceleration should be the same, and all the turning effects, all the movement should be the same. So I hope this clarifies what we mean by that. So again, we want the external effects to be the same, but that does not necessarily mean that all the internal effects would be the same. Okay, so we start off with a very trivial example. So let's assume that we have a single force acting on a rod. So let's assume we are holding a rod BA in our hand, and there is a force applied on this end of the rod, and the force is equal to F, and it is directed outwards. So the first thing that we can do, we want to move this force, or we want to represent this force as a resultant force which is acting at this point B. Rather than acting at this point A, we want to represent it acting at the point B. And so the first thing we can do is we can add two forces. So on the top of this bar we can add these two fictitious forces. These are not actual forces acting on the body, but we are adding them to to find the equivalent system. So we add two forces. One force is equal to minus F and the other force is equal to F, and this was the original force that we already had on the system. So we can already see that when we apply two forces which are equal and opposite and they are acting at the same point, this does not produce any effects on this rigid body, because again these two forces cancel each other out, and they also do not produce any resultant couple moment because there is no distance between these two forces. But the next step what we want to do is, rather than cancelling out these forces, we want to cancel out this F force with this F force. So because again these two forces are also equal to each other, this is minus F and this is F, so we can say that this minus F force cancels out this force F, and the resultant force would then be equal to a force which is F, which has the same magnitude and the same direction as the original force, but rather than being applied at this point A, now this force is being applied at this point B. So we would say that this bottom picture, this is an equivalent system of the original system. So this is what we call the equivalent system. Okay, so let me just write that down for us. So this is equivalent system. Okay, so this third picture, so again equivalent system in the sense that all the external effects produced by this force F are going to be the same as being produced by this force F acting at this other end. Okay, so so this is when we want to move a force along the line of action of the force. So the basic take home message from this example is that anytime we move a force and we move that force along the line of action of that force, force can be moved along and we do not get any other forces or moments. Okay, so now we look at a second example, that a case where we are moving the force in some other direction which is not along the line of action of the force. So whenever we have a force, single force acting on a body, and we want to move it elsewhere, so for that we look at the second example where we have this force F, and now we want to represent this same force F at this other end of this bar. So again, by using the same logic that we did before, we first add two forces on the other end. One is the force F and the other is force minus F, but now again we want to cancel out these two forces with each other, but in the sense of forces they cancel out, but now they form a couple moment, and because these two forces are equal, they are opposite in direction and they are separated from each other by a distance of d, and that was precisely our definition for a couple moment. So we can say that when we move this force from this point to this point, we get the force itself, but we also get a couple moment which is equal to F times d, where d is the distance of this force being moved, and again because this force is acting downwards and this force is acting upwards, the resultant couple moment is clockwise. That is why we draw this direction, arrow direction, that we have a resultant couple moment which is equal to F times d. So just to recap, whenever we move a force along the line of action of that force, we can just do that and we do not have to worry about any other couple moments. But whenever we move a force along in some other direction which is not along the line of action of the force, we have an extra couple moment that we have to worry about. Okay, so moving on, so now we want to generalize this result, whatever we saw in this trivial example. So now we look at this rigid body which has these two forces F1 and F2, and we have this couple moment M acting on this body. So now our aim is to write all of these forces. We want to form an equivalent system where we have a resultant force acting at point O, and we have a resultant couple moment also acting at point O. So first step is that moments, we already know that moments are free vectors. Moments can just be moved around whenever we want them. That is something we saw in the last lecture. Anytime we have a couple moment, that couple moment can just be moved around to any point in that body. So first we can just move this couple moment to this point O. So the next step is to move these two forces to this point O, and as we saw in the previous trivial example, whenever we move this force F any distance r1, we get an extra couple moment which is equal to so this is m01, mo1. This is the moment created at the origin when we move this force F1 from this point to O, and that is equal to r1 cross F1. r1 is the distance moved, so r1 is the position vector from the point where we want our force to be to the point of the action of the force. Okay, and similarly when we move F2 to this point, we get another couple moment which is equal to mo2, which equals r2 cross F2. So now we have all of these forces and couple moments acting at the same point O, and so the next step is very trivial, that we sum up all of these couple moments. So the resultant couple moment is the sum of all of these three couple moments, and the resultant force is just a sum of all of these two forces. And so to formalize our discussion, we have these two formulas, that anytime if we want to reduce a system to one resultant force Fr at any arbitrary point O and a resultant couple moment at the same point, so what do we do? The resultant force is just equal to the sum of all the forces, and the resultant moment has two terms, and so the resultant force is just sum of all the forces, and this is the sum of all the original moments, because we could have a situation where we have some moments already acting on our system. So those are all of those moments, and this second term is sum of all the moments of each of the forces at point O. So because now we are moving those forces, as we saw in the previous slide, whenever we move a force around, we get an extra moment, and these are all the terms from those moments, and so this again is the resultant couple moment. Okay. So this is the basic idea behind for making an equivalent system, and so now we would so first of all we can use to find the resultant forces and to find the resultant couple moments, we can use all the tools that we studied in the previous lectures. We can write these moments into their Cartesian vector form, and then we can add those two Cartesian vectors. So all of that still applies here, but this extra term is what is the only new thing, that anytime we move a force around, we get an extra moment because of moving of that force. Okay, and another important point is that all of these things, these are not numbers, they are not these are vectors. This is a vector equation, so this equation would have an fx component, and it would have an fy component and an fz component. Similarly, when we are talking about moments in 3 dimensions, this single equation will translate into 3 equations for all of the axes. So here we see how we would apply this concept for a 2-dimensional system. So let's imagine we have this pole which has these two street lights on it, and so this street light has a weight of W1, and the second street light has a weight of W2, and this one is at a distance D1 and this one is at a distance D2. And now we want to simplify this system, and we want to convert into a resultant force and resultant moment acting at this point O. So again, by using the concept that we have studied before, so the resultant force at this point O would just be the sum of these two forces, W1 and W2. So that would be the resultant force, and the resultant moment would just be equal to W1 times D1 plus W2 times D2, because anytime we move a force around, we know that we get a couple moment if the motion is not along the line of action of that force. So for a two-dimensional system, our equations, initial these vector equations would convert into these three equations that we already know that for any coplanar or a two-dimensional system, the moments can either be positive or negative. So we get a single equation for moments, and the forces in two dimensions can be broken down into their x and y components, and the resultant of the x component of the resultant force would be equal to the sum of all the x components of all the forces, and similarly the resultant y component would be the sum of all the y components of the forces. Okay, so just to recap, anytime we move a force around and the motion is along the line of the action of the force, that is allowed, and this is called the principle of transmissibility. And we already saw that a couple moment is a free vector, and it can be moved around any place on the body that we choose. But whenever we move a force which is not along the action of the line of action of the force, then we get an extra couple moment to compensate for that motion. And so a few simplification tools, that whenever we are summing up forces and we have coplanar forces, it is best to resolve each of the force into its x and y components, and then we add them separately. And whenever we are dealing with forces in 3 dimensions, we write all of these forces into their Cartesian vector forms and we sum them up. And for moment summation, if we have a coplanar system, the moments can either be clockwise or counterclockwise, and we can use all the concepts like the principle of moments to find the resultant moment. In 3 dimensions, we have to use the cross product, as we saw in the previous lectures, which is R cross F, to find the resultant moments. Okay, so let's look at 2 examples. The first example, we have this body, rigid body, and there are 3 forces acting on that body. We want to replace the force and couple system shown in figure 4-37a by an equivalent force and a couple moment acting at point O. So we want to convert all of these 3 forces into an equivalent system of forces and couple moments acting at point O. So for the forces, we already know sum of all the forces. So let me just write that down. So we know that the sum of all the forces is equal to the resultant force. Okay, and to find that, what we can do, we can say that the resultant force x component is just equal to sum of all the x components of all the forces. Okay, and similarly for y. So first of all, we would like to break down each of the forces into its x and y components. So this is the x component of this force, and this is going to be the y component of this force, and we can say that this force is going to be equal to 3 cos of 30 kilonewtons, and similarly this one is going to be equal to 3 sine of 30, again the same units, kilonewtons. Similarly, we would like to break this force into its x component and y component. So this is going to be the x component, and this is going to be the y component. So the x component of this force is going to be equal to 3 kilonewtons using the ratios, and this one is going to be equal to 4 kilonewtons, and this is in minus y direction. So it's better to make an axis so that we know what we are talking about. So this is our positive x and this is our positive y, the usual. So now this equation simply becomes, so we have two forces in the x direction, 3 cos of 30 and 3 kilonewton. So we get 3 cos of 30 plus 3 in kilonewtons. So this is the resultant force x component, and the resultant y component is going to be equal to, we have three forces in the y component. One of the forces is 3 sine of 30. This is going to be positive and these two are going to be negative, so that means we get, so this is 4 kilonewton, the other one is also 4 kilonewton, we get 8 and the whole unit is kilonewtons. Okay, so we have already found the resultant forces. The next step again is to find the resultant moments, and so our rule that we studied before was that the resultant moment is equal to sum of all the couple moments already acting on the system plus sum of all the moments which are induced by moving the force around. Okay, so there aren't any couple moments acting on that body, so that means this term is 0. So the only couple moments are the ones which are produced by moving the force around to the point O. So first off, we move this 4 kilonewton force to this point O, and because this has to move at a distance of 0.2, so we get 4 times 0.2, that's the first term. Then the second term is because of the y component, so maybe this term, and so this is going to produce a counterclockwise moment, so I'm going to add a negative sign. This is going to produce a clockwise moment, so that is by a negative sign. This one is going to produce a counterclockwise moment, so we get 3 sine of 30 again, and the perpendicular distance for this one is also 0.2. So these are two terms. Then we get the term for this x, so maybe just write the y components first. So this is also producing a clockwise moment, so we get -4, and the perpendicular distance for this force is 0.2 plus 0.3, which is 0.5, and then we write the moments due to the y components. This moment is producing a clockwise moment, and this force is producing a counterclockwise moment. So this we get a minus sine 3 cos of 30, and the perpendicular distance is 0.1, and then we get this last term which is going to be positive, and that is equal to 3 times 0.1. And because all of these things are given in kilonewtons and meters, so we get the unit of kilonewton meters. Okay, so again the resultant force is just a sum of all the forces, and the resultant moments is the sum of all the individual couple moments and sum of all the moments produced by moving this force around, all the forces around. So we get the term for moving every single force. So when we have resolved this force into its x and y components, we get 5 forces. This is the first, second, third, fourth and fifth, and that is why we get these 5 terms: first, second, third, fourth and fifth. Okay, so that should be clear. And so we see that this is exactly how we find the resultant. This is exactly what we found, and the resultant moment is similarly the moment produced by each and every term. We get these 5 terms. Okay, so now look at this other example, which is for a system which is in 3 dimensions, and a structural member is subjected to a couple moment n and forces F1 and F2. Replace this system by an equivalent resultant force and a couple moment acting at its base point O. So we have this body, this girder, which has 2 forces and a resultant couple moment acting on it, and we want to make an equivalent system where all the forces and the couple moments are acting at this point O. So again, just using the logic that we have studied before, first step is to write the forces. So first of all, I would like to write all the forces into their x and y components into their Cartesian vector form. So x1 is simply equal to minus 800 k hat, and the minus sign is because this force is acting downwards, and F2 is acting along this position vector, which this is 0.1, this is 0.15. so to find F2, this has a 300 Newton, this is the magnitude, and for the direction we find the unit vector, which is going to be equal to so minus 0.15 x hat, because to go from this point to this point I have to move along in the x-axis minus 0.5 meters, and along the y-axis 0.1 meters. So we get that. So this is not x hat, sorry, this has to be I hat. And similarly we get this second term, which is 0.1, and we get a j hat. Okay, and to convert it into unit vector, we have to divide this thing by this magnitude, which is 0.15 squared plus 0.1 squared. Okay, so this is F1 and F2, and so the resultant force is just going to be equal to F1 plus F2. So I take it that you can add forces and to their given in Cartesian vector form. This shouldn't be very difficult for you. So the next step is to find the resultant moment at point O, and we know that the resultant moment is sum of all the moments. So we already have a moment which is 500 Newton meter and which is acting along this line. So we get 500 Newton meter, and then so all the forces are in newtons. Okay, and so this is 500 Newton meter, and so its direction, it is in the zy plane. So the direction vector is just minus 4 by 5 j hat, and we plus 3 by 5 k hat. So this is the term because of this couple moment, and then we get two other terms. The first one is going to be RC cross F1, and the second term is going to be RB cross F2. This term we can already see is going to be 0 because RC and F1 are they are acting along the same line. So a cross product of two vectors which are parallel is equal to 0, and RB can be found by using the concepts of positional vectors that we studied in chapter number 2 to be equal to so RB has all the three components are non-zero. So the x component is equal to minus 0.15 I hat plus 0.1 j hat, and then we get a plus 1 k hat. So again you would just put in the value of R2 and F2 given here into this formula to find the resultant moments. So that is it for today. So I hope this concept is clear, and I'll see you in the next lecture, inshallah.